Welcome to the Idea Climbing Podcast. Self awareness is the key to a successful entrepreneurial venture, and knowing your emotional quotient, or EQ, pays dividends in the long run. I discuss how to embrace both in this episode with my guest, Gordon D. Melville. Gordon, client dubbed and now widely recognized as The Vault, has built his life's work around one core belief: powerful people are still human, and ignored pressure eventually becomes destruction. He works with elite founders, professional athletes, operators, and a small circle of courageous women who are done tolerating the disconnect between who they appear to be publicly and who they know themselves to be privately. We dive into topics including how to become aware of and embrace your emotional quotient, what you can do to start your self help journey, and where to get the support you need for your journey, how to choose to respond instead of reacting to negative situations. The one thing above all else you need to do to raise your self awareness and emotional quotient, and other golden nuggets of advice. You're going to love this show. Gordon, thank you for making the time to do the Idea Climbing podcast. I appreciate you.
No problem. I appreciate being here. Thanks for the opportunity.
And we're going to dive into a few things with the theme of how to raise your awareness and your emotional quotient, or EQ. Before we get into some of the tips, tricks, strategy, things like that, when it comes to raising awareness and involving your EQ, why is that so important to you? What's your story with awareness and EQ?
Great question. It's something that has been near and dear to my heart for 37, 37 years in August, that Zig Ziglar put me on that path of sort of a self-awareness of what's going on, how do things work. We try to win the game of life without knowing what the rules are. I work with the basketball team, and if they don't know what the rules are, it makes it very difficult to win. But as humans, we try and do that. We try and sort of get our way through without understanding what the rules are. And so Zig put me on a path that of really self-exploration, doing the inside work and growth. And I'm finding over decades, it's not growth, it's not expansion, it's self-awareness. It's peeling off. When they asked David how he found Michelangelo in that statue in the rock, he said it was always there. All I did was take away the rough parts. And I believe we can't become who we already are. So we're already who we're supposed to be at our core, but we have all this life stuff wrapped around us. And so that it's not growth, it's peeling off of that human stuff to reveal who we really truly are in the middle. And so that for me has been an ongoing awareness that to try and make sure I'm always growing. I'm always pulling those layers off to make sure that I'm getting closer and closer and closer to who I truly already am. And so that journey has it bumps and bruises, and it's hard. And I think that's why less than 3% of the population does any kind of personal development, because it's difficult and it's painful and it's messy, and it requires a lot of introspection, a lot of looking in a mirror and going, you know what, I'm not I'm not perfect by a long shot, but I have a lot of foibles, I have a lot of challenges, and I don't know everything about everything. And
Where does
what
it
I'm
start? If
in
someone's
a
listening, they're
choice.
like, okay, awareness, but where do you even start to become aware if less than 3% of the population practices self-help?
Again, that's an amazing question, because it has to come from getting to a place where either somebody shows it to you. So I was blessed that Zig showed that to me. But a lot of people will wait until and it's not that they wait, they're not aware of the fact that they can. I heard a lot last year from my clients, Gord, I didn't even realize I could make a choice that way. I didn't know, as weird as that sounds to me, Gord, I didn't know I could. And so that requires a choice. It doesn't just happen on its own. It's not, I mean, organically, or can you grow and can you move? And yeah, sure you can, but you're at the whim of everybody else around you in your life, and there's no anchoring. It's just sort of happening. When you become intentional after you choose, I'm choosing to step into that space. I'm choosing to have an awareness around. Well, once I do that, now I'm doing, as you and I have talked about before, I read 5, 7 books a month, business books. That's a pouring in. That's an intentional choosing to infuse myself and find some new ground and to have new awareness. I'm learning stuff all the time about who I am. What I'm finding is finding somebody that can hold a mirror up for you and tell you the hard truth, because a mirror can't show you where you're going to be. A mirror can't show you where you've been. A mirror can only reflect what's here right now, in this moment, right? In real time. And so having somebody in your life that can do that for you, where they can hold up a mirror and be 100% honest with us. Most of us don't want to do that. So the short answer for you is a choice. I have to choose to step into that arena. And some people will do it for a little bit and then go, you know what, it's too hard, I'm out. Or I'm at a place where I think I like where I am, so it's all good. I'm done. And some people like myself, there's a very small percentage of people that go, this will be a lifelong thing until they drop, until I pop off my moral coil. I'll continue to want to refine and refine and refine and refine. But it starts
So
with a choice.
where does that begin? So let's say someone holds up the mirror, you realize, okay, I'm flawed. And let's say you're one of those people that you're not going to go into denial. You're going to actively say, I'm going to do, it's new to me that I'm flawed. Someone held up a mirror for, the first or the second, or maybe the third time when I finally got it.
Right.
Where does that active journey begin of I'm flawed, now what? What do you do to start that journey of I'm going to work on myself?
That's it. Sometimes it starts different for different people. The one thing I want to point out, nobody's broken. We may
Okay.
feel broken, but we're not broken. And so if I start from that empowerment place that says, no, 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 I'm not broken in any way. I may feel that way, but that's not what's happening. And so when I start that journey, it becomes and especially nowadays with technology where it is, and Google, if you Googled, hey, how do I self-improvement or personal development, or when we're talking about emotional quotient, people talk about it sometimes as emotional intelligence, and it's not really an intelligence, it's a quotient. But you could Google it and go, hey, tell me about emotional quotient, and it'll give you books, it'll give you articles, it'll tell you define it. So again, that's that choice that goes, hey, I want to intentionally figure this out. And when it's weird about human behavior, and I do this with my athletes all the time, where they go, Gord, I don't have the time or the money, and I'm like, no offense, what I just heard was I don't want to. Because as humans, if we really want to, we'll figure out the money, the time, that we'll whether it's good for us or bad for us, we'll still figure it out if it's important, if it's a priority. And so if it's a priority for them to figure out, once they become aware of that or want that, they'll look, because there's lots of free resources. But you can buy Think and Grow Rich for what, $12, $15?
Yep.
It's cheap, right? So it's a great place to start. The Law of Success, I would start with the Law of Success. That was the original work. But even that's less than $20. Like, it's not like you have to blow your brains out on 200K for a life coach or for a mentor advisor. That you don't have to do that. There's lots of other ways you can sort of get that ball rolling and dip your toe into that world if you want to. But again, it takes a choice, it takes intention, and then there's lots of opportunity to find. As like I say, especially now, there's podcasts, there's lots of stuff around that you can plug into that don't cost you a thing, that you can listen to or read or take advantage of.
Well, once you start going, you start making improvements, you're reading, coaching, mentoring, whatever it might be. Once you're on your way, and I'll say well on your way to the journey, everything can't be unicorns and rainbows. What do you do to keep on keeping on and not fall into a backpedal, if not a backslide? How do you keep on keeping on into the journey when you start to realize harsh truths? It's like, oh, that kind of depresses me to know that now.
Well, Once there's an awareness, then it becomes a choice. So you'll hear me say choice a bunch. You'll hear me say awareness a bunch, because it's a choosing for us. Nobody's making us feel anything. Nobody else can make us angry. We're choosing to be angry based on what that information or situation was. We're choosing that. So if it makes me depressed that I'm not perfect in every way, well, welcome to life and humanity, because there isn't anybody. Jesus is probably the only one, right? So it's a choice to be able to say, you know what? I'm going to continue to do this because I know it's good for me, and it's making me closer to who I really am. It's showing me how I'm closer to who I really be, to use that kind of vernacular. But it's a choice. When I get upset, I have a thing written on our bedroom wall, and my wife freaked out because we rent, and she's like, "You can't write on the walls." I'm like, "I'll paint it before we leave if we leave." But it says stimulus, pause, respond, to remind me life's going to happen. Stuff's going to happen. Stimulus is going to come from all over the place, whether it's something said, done. We have 3 teenage sons, and they still say and do silly things all the time that I have a visceral reaction to. And if I react in the moment, I say things and do things I can't take back. I hurt people, and it's not good. Again, humans were the only living thing gifted the ability to pause, right? If I step on a cat's tail, it doesn't have the capacity to look up at me and go, well, is Gordon's intent to hurt me and to be nasty to me? Or they don't have that. So I get an instant reaction, right? But humans were gifted the ability to pause. And so if I can pause, if I can learn that skill, and again, that's an awareness and a choice to pause before I do or say anything in any situation, then the response is now measured. The response is now less emotional. It has more logic attached to it. But I have to pause in the middle of that. I have to be able to choose, and that's not easy, right? So to your question, if I'm going to be depressed, well, and my wife looks at me sometimes when I'm upset, she goes, "I thought you were the choice guy." I am. I'm choosing to be pissed off, or I'm choosing to be frustrated. The thing is, I will give myself a time frame and go, you know what? You can be upset for the next 2 minutes, but you can't be upset longer than that, because we have this. Well, I share like this. Everybody has. If you had $86,400 in the bank and somebody stole $400, would you burn the other $86,000 because you're upset?
No.
No. Everybody goes, "That's crazy. Why would I do that?" But we do it every day. We all have 86,400 seconds in a day. And somebody cuts us off, or something happens, someone takes 400 seconds, and we burn the other 86,000 being pissed off that we lost that 400. A lot of times it's more than that. A lot of times people do this for days or weeks. They're frustrated and angry about something that happened to them. You can't do anything about it. It's now in the past. But we have to choose to have an awareness. Hey, you know what? I'm human. I have to acknowledge that emotion. It's there for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Acknowledge it, be in it for a few minutes, and then let it go, because you can't change it. It's in the past. It's already happened. But because I'm allowing that to impact me in a negative way, it's impacting my now. It's robbing me of my ability to enjoy the gift of the present. And we don't, again, it's an awareness. We don't think of it that way. So if I want to be depressed because I'm not perfect, well, again, get over yourself. Nobody is. That's life. What the question is, what are you going to do about that? Now that you have that information, in business we say, well, if you want something to change, you have to measure it, because anything that gets measured improves, because there's attention. I heard Darren Hardy say it, but energy flows where attention goes. When you pay attention to it, energy will flow in that space. And we see that all over our life. Defensive driving, you're skidding towards the wall. They'll tell you, do not look at the wall. Look where you want to go. That's an attention to where the energy is going. Do not allow the energy to pull you to the wall. Look where you want to go, and your hands will steer that way. So again, if I want to be depressed, I want to be frustrated that I'm okay. All good. That's a choice I'm making. If you want to do something about it, again, then you make a choice with intention, and you either search out a book, search out a program, search out a podcast, find a coach, find a mentor, somebody that, even the most accomplished people that any of us know have multiple. Why? Because they understand. Quite frankly, a lot of times I will not trust a coach or a mentor that doesn't have a coach and mentor, because we all have
Oh
blind
yeah.
spots, right?
Yeah.
That if as soon as I go, hey, I know it all, I'm out, because I'm like, no. What I'm finding after more than 3,000 business books over 37 years, the more I learned, the more I realized I don't know. There's so much I don't know. But that's again, that's still an awareness around intentionally understanding. Yep. Am I going to like to find out I'm not perfect? No. But the question is, what am I going to do about it?
Well, I
That's what it
love
comes down to.
once I think this is a good segue to something we spoke about before I hit record. Once you have the awareness and the 80, the so many seconds, and someone cuts me off, I could ruin the entire day, or you're at home and you can stop for a minute and pause. As far as that goes, I think that is, tell me if I'm on point from our previous conversation.
Mhm.
At that point, frequency plays a role. You're
For
emitting a
sure.
frequency, you're attracting certain things. And if you have a
Mhm.
negative, this sucks, I'm pissed off frequency, you're going to attract this sucks, I'm pissed off, also frequency type people and scenarios. Could you speak to, once you become aware and something's happening and you pause, to be how to be aware of and shift your frequency?
That's, you know what, and you're absolutely on point. That's absolutely correct. Once I have an awareness, you know what, now it becomes a, what am I going to do with that? And a lot of times I do it with my pro athletes, where and I watch, and we do a lot of basketball. So they somebody misses a free throw, and everybody runs past them and smacks them in the butt and don't go, don't worry about it, we'll get it next time. But in their head, they're thinking, crap, we needed those points. And the other people on the bench, or the other teammates, are, oh crap, we needed those points. And all the fans in the stands are, crap, we needed those points. That's allowing that energy flow in a negative way. And then the next thing you know, somebody misses a pass, and then somebody kicks a ball, and then somebody fouls out. That negative just rolls. It happens in our regular life. We wake up late and we hit the alarm, and we're like, crap, I'm late. And we get up and we stub our toe on the bed as we run around it.
Mm.
And our toothpaste squirts out all over the sink, and our coffee spills down ourselves, and we hit every red light on the way to work, and we're like, what the hell is going on? It's because we didn't stop and have an intention. As soon as I woke up, to go, you know what, I'm late, but I'm going to choose to make it another great day. But I need to be able to say that out loud, not just think it, because thoughts doesn't put a vibration into that frequency. I need to be able to put that vibration out. So I would wake up and hit the thing. Oh, I'm late. It's okay. I'm still choosing to make it a great day. And I get up, but I'm going to say that over and over and over out loud, over and over and over and over and over, because what I'm doing is reversing that flow from negative to positive. And it
Okay.
doesn't mean, like, to your point, doesn't mean everything is sunshine and rainbows all day. What it does mean is I'm taking control of the one thing I have control of, as a one piece, is me. Two things, if you think, well, what I think and what I do are the only things we really can control. The control on anything else is an illusion. If you have pets or children, you understand very quickly control is an illusion,
Yeah.
right? Outside of ourselves. But most of us abdicate that power. Most of us don't hold on to that and go, no, I have the power to. It's not a power to make things happen necessarily. It's the power to respond to what's happening the way I want it to. That doesn't mean I don't make plans. It doesn't mean I don't have a schedule. It doesn't mean I don't do those types of things. But I can't control whether that happens or not. I really, truly, I can't. So what I have control of is how I respond to that. And so, if I wake up late, you know what? Okay, how am I going to respond to that? I can be pissed off and frustrated. If I get cut off, I think I get cut off in traffic. How am I going to respond to that? My boss is yucky to me at work, or maybe he's really good to me at work. How do I respond to that? In a relationship, we're having well, we haven't had too many fights in our relationship, in our marriage, but if I'm battling with somebody, I'm choosing to respond a certain way, in a certain tone, in a certain body language. A lot of times, and tell me if this happens with you in relationships, my wife will tell me more with her body language and her tone and the look on her face than her words ever do.
So
Whole
what do you do?
conversations.
What do
What?
you do with that? Everything you just said, your boss, your wife, whoever it might be. So, how, and I know pause is part of it, but fill in the blanks. What is the action, like internal action? Is it pause and think of something else? Or I won't try and fill in the blank, but okay, something's happening. I've noticed body language, dynamics are happening. I'm late for work. Pause, and then what comes after how do you make a shift in energy and not go down a rabbit hole of negativity?
This could be a common theme. Choose. And the weird part is this: as humans, we have a tendency to want to complicate the crap out of everything, right? Well, what are the 10 steps to get there? Sometimes there aren't. And when we're talking about who we're being, really, truly, and that energy we're pumping out, that's a choice we make. I'm choosing. So in that pause, you're literally going, "Mm, this could go down a very bad path very quickly." And sometimes it's a defensive thing. Matter of fact, a lot of times it's a defensive thing. And what we're wanting to do is defend ourselves, right? They've said something that we take offense to, or we take exception with. And we're like, well, no, wait. And because then my ego gets involved, and my ego is trying to protect me. And it doesn't need to do that. But that's how we're built. So our ego says, no, he shouldn't have said that, she shouldn't have said that to me, or that's not fair, or hey, I didn't do that. And so we're defensive. And so in that pause, what we're doing is analyzing what's going on. A lot of times those statements are made, we take exception to them because, oh, I'm not like that. But to have a half a second to go, wait, maybe there's something in that maybe there's a seed of truth in there somewhere. That's why it upsets me, because I know I know they're right, and I don't want to hear that. So that in that pause, we're evaluating what's going on. Do I need to say something? Do I even need to say something in response to that? If it's a conversation, what I'm finding after almost a decade of intentionally doing a stimulus pause respond type thing, I ask my wife and kids, they'll tell you I'm not successful at that 100%, or even probably 70%. It is getting better. But what I'm finding is once I pause, whether it's a couple seconds or it's a couple weeks, that pause, once it's over and I've thought about it and mulled it over and taken the emotion out of it, because that's a big hunk. Emotion and logic are the two pieces I'm kind of, if you boil it down, are the two pieces I'm thinking about in that pause. Can I take the emotion out of it? And can I add logic? Do I have all the information, or is there other things I need to know to be able to have a good response? And then when I'm responding, what I'm finding is probably less than 40% of the time there's something to respond to. Oddly enough, right? Because once I take the emotion out of it and add the logic, I'm like, well, they were right, or they're partially right, or what's it gonna, does it help my relationship with this person or hurt my relationship with this person to take offense and be all up? Because again, that's a choice. Our emotional response to that situation is our choice. Is it an easy choice? No. Lots of times, because it's a visceral thing, right? But a lot of time, we're still choosing not to have control. In sports, right? My team, they get in their handbook when I started working with them, it said after 2 technical fouls, you get kicked out of a game. And so the handbook says with an ejection, you pay $50 to the team. And I said to the owners, you need to take that out or change it. We need to change that. And they're like, what should it say? And I'm like, what is a technical foul? And they were like, well, that's a loss of control. Like in the moment, situation happens, an official makes a bad call, one of their opponents or somebody does something or says something that you take a visceral reaction to, and you say something or do something in the moment, that's a loss of control of me, right? And so I said, no, It's not after 2 and then you get ejected. Are they any help to you in the locker room? Well, no. Great. Then you don't want them in the locker room. You want them on the court. So it should say after 1 technical foul, it's $100 to the team, and or whatever the amounts of dollars is that would, right, grab their attention. The point is, what that does in the moment is modify the behavior. When they get pissed off or they're frustrated, and it goes through their head, oh, I got to pay for that. No, I'm not. And they choose to modify their behavior, and they hold it in, or they don't do, and they can let it out later. Come and see me after the game, or at halftime, or whatever. Come and see me. We'll have a conversation around that. You can let it out. But in the moment, you need to hold on to that. In the moment,
and you can always choose what to do in the moment, correct?
Exactly right. As hard as that is, and I don't want to make it sound, oh, it's easy. Just no. A lot of times, it's brutally hard to do, which is why people don't do it. It's really hard to hold on to that emotion and go, you know what? No. Because what I'm doing when I react is giving that other person my power. I'm literally submitting and giving up my power to that other person. They now have control of me. Whether I like that or not, whether that's the dynamic, it doesn't matter. I just gave them my power. It's with my kids, and it's a little bit of a different shift, but the concept is the same. Which is the scarier villain? The one that screams and yells and is animated, or the one that doesn't say anything and then all of a sudden smiles and cocks their head, and they're like, yeah, the second one. That freaks me out. I said, why? Well, I don't know what they're thinking. They have mastery control of that emotion.
And so you have to keep control of your emotions.
Right. It's a choice.
So this has been a good segue into, as far as realizing the problem, pause, respond to the stimulus, all that good stuff. You keep control of the emotion. Don't give it away. If someone's listening or watching and they realize, okay, everything you said up to that point of, being able to maintain it, you're in control, you're not giving your power away. Whether it's reinforcing something you already said or mentioning something new, when it comes to raising your awareness and your EQ, if you were to say, if you want to go along this journey and be successful at doing these things, at least do this one thing. At least do this one thing in this one practice. What would you tell people to do to raise awareness and master their EQ?
Learn to side with you. Learn to understand you. It's an internal thing, and you and I read Stoics, we read Napoleon Hill, we read Neville Goddard, we read all these different types of things. They all kind of talk around that same concept that talks about knowing yourself. So what can I do? I would start to try and figure out who I'm being before I do anything else, because if I don't understand that, then no matter what I read, no matter what I listen to, I'm still gonna waft, right? The sort of the concept that a lighthouse doesn't run all over the land trying to find, or along the coast trying to find ships, right? It stays where it is, and the ships know, hey, that light is never moving. But unless that lighthouse is already there, it can't help. So okay. I have to understand who I be. I have to. And for me, I anchor that in Papa, and I call God Papa because of my relationship with him. But who I'm being, I believe we're all his kids. So they refer to him as King of Kings. So that means you are a male child of a king. I am a male child of a king. My wife is a female child of a king. We're sovereign kids. Mm-hmm. At our core. That is who we all be.
Okay.
How we live, we're all different human beings. So how that shows up out of us is going to be completely different. But at our core, we're royalty. If we could understand and anchor to that, believe that and anchor to that, we would have a completely different world. We would have power. We would be empowered in a way we've never even imagined before, because that's who we are. You can't become who you already are. We are already royalty. We're already sovereign kids of a king. And if I can really grasp that and believe that, a lot of this other stuff starts to work itself out, because I now have the not necessarily the skill yet, because I don't know what those are, but I have an awareness around, hey, this is who I'm being. Can I be depressed if I think I'm royalty? Can at big spans, right? Can I be angry? Sure. Can I have all emotions? Yes. But at my core, I don't go away too far from any of those things, because I know I'm royalty. I know Prince Harry can do whatever he wants, right? He gets upset with his family, abdicates the throne. I want nothing to do with my family or any of it anymore. He brings Meghan, goes to California, does whatever he's going to do. But can he ever change the fact that he was born to Prince Charles at the time and Lady Di? No, that's his birthright. That's who he be at his core. But does he know that? Yes. Whether he acknowledges it, plugs into it, and lives out of it are all completely different deals. And I think the same thing happens in this space. We can say, well, I don't want to acknowledge that's the case, that I'm a sovereign kid. I don't want to plug into that or live out of that. Okay, that's a choice. That we can all make that choice if we want to. Mm-hmm. But right, being able to plug into that and anchor myself in a place that's never going to move. Right, that's never going to change. I can say gravity is crap, but if I step off the roof of this building, it's going to affect me, whether I believe it, acknowledge it, or want to plug into it or not. Really is immaterial, right? But the same thing with this. It doesn't change who we're being if we don't acknowledge, plug in, and live out of it. If I want to, sorry?
I was going to say, that is a beautiful way to close. Anchor and be the lighthouse. If people are listening and watching, they want to find you online, where's the best place or places to go?
LinkedIn, if you put in Gordon D. Melville, you'll find me. The Vault Confidential at gmail.com is email. You can reach it. I'm most of the places on the internet, on socials. You can find me almost everywhere. So that's the easiest way. LinkedIn is usually the place I send people.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Gordon. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I really has been a blast.
And scene.